Good morning, government students. Tonight we're going to have some fun. We're going to take some political surveys. In class today, we learned about the political spectrum and what a liberal believes in, what a conservative believes in. Now we're going to find out what you believe. Are you a liberal? Are you a conservative? We're going to find out right now. So on this first political survey, what you're going to do is in this first column right here, you're going to put a check mark or X if you agree with the political statement that is listed. So for instance, for number one, the federal government places too many restrictions on business. If I agree with that, I'm going to put a check mark or X right here. I'm going to do that all the way down. I believe there are 25 statements total. There are. So for each statement that you agree with, put a check mark or X. And then in just a second, I'm going to have you press pause and go through and do all that. You can either print this off or just get a piece of paper and put number one and put a yes or no. And then yes would mean I agree with it, no means I don't, and then I'll tell you what that yes or no means or what that check mark means or no check mark means in just a little second. So you don't need to print this off, but if you do, it's good to have, so print it off if you can. And by the way, try to if you can print off all of these tests, please do so. If you don't, then if you can't, then just do it on a piece of paper and you'll be just fine. So go ahead and press pause, and then I'm going to explain what the meanings of your answers are. So press pause now. All right, so now let's go through the answers. And so for everything, you're either going to put an L or a C in this column right here. Those are your only two answers that you can have, either an L or a C, and I'm going to give you what those answers are right now. So for number one, the federal government places too many restrictions on business. If you agreed or put a check mark here, then that is a C. If you disagreed with it or didn't like it, then that's an L. Number two, Americans need to be protected from unnecessary police searches and other invasions of privacy. If you agreed, then that's an L. If you didn't agree, that's a C. Number three, high taxes discourage people from working hard. If you agreed, then that is a C. If you disagreed, that's an L. Only people who cannot work should be eligible for welfare. If you agreed, that is a C. If you disagreed, that's an L. National security is more important than an individual's right of privacy. If you agreed, that's a C. If you disagreed, that is an L. The government should create and pay for programs that help the poor. If you agreed with that statement, it's an L. If you disagreed, it's a C. The wealthy should be taxed at a higher percentage than lower and middle classes. If you agree, that is an L. If you disagree, that is a C. The best way to help the poor is to help businesses earn a profit and create new jobs. If you agree, that's a C. If you disagree, that's an L. The government programs on behalf of the disadvantaged discourage people from helping themselves. If you agree, that's a C. If you disagree, that's an L. The government should not restrict abortion and other reproductive decisions. If you agree, that's an L. If you disagree, that's a C. The government has a special responsibility to protect minorities. If you agree, that's an L. If you disagree, that's a C. Crime can be reduced by enforcing stricter penalties and longer jail sentences. If you agree, that's a C. If you disagree, that's an L. The government should do more to punish businesses that pollute the environment. If you agree, that is an L. If you disagree, that is a C. The government should protect Americans from morally offensive publications. If you agree, that's a C. If you disagree, that's an L. The arts should be protected from government censorship. Adults must be free to think and wish as they speak. If you agree, that's an L. If you disagree, that's a C. Picking up with number 16, without government regulation, big business would take advantage of ordinary Americans. If you agree, that's an L. If you disagree, that's a C. Crime, unemployment, poverty would all be reduced if we went back to traditional values of hard work, self-discipline, and belief in God. If you agree with that, it's a C. If you disagree, that's an L. Our government spends too much on social services and other programs that could be run by religious organizations and nonprofits. If you agree, that's a C. If you disagree, that's an L. Homosexuals should receive the same rights and protections as other minority groups. If you agree, that's an L. If you disagree, that's a C. Policies that create jobs are more important than protect the environment. If you agree, that's a C. If you disagree, that's an L. The federal government should not get involved in setting academic standards. If you agree, that's a C. If you disagree, it's an L. Americans have the right to affordable health care. If you agree, that's an L. If you disagree, that's a C. The death penalty is cruel and unusual. If you agree, that's an L. If you disagree, that's a C. One way to reduce crime would be to limit the sale of firearms. If you agree, that's an L. If you disagree, that's a C. The government should allow school-sponsored prayer. If you agree, that's a C. And if you disagree, that's an L. All right, so what I need you to do right now is go through and for this second column, count up how many L's and count up how many C's, and then I'll tell you what to do next. All right, so this is a spreadsheet where you're going to document your answers on. You can see up here it says government political survey results. What you're going to do is you're going to type in, and I'll have a link for this on Google Classroom. You're going to type in your last name and then your first name, and then I need to change this. We don't need this one. So let's just cut that. Let's just delete that. And so what you're going to do after you type in your first name is you're going to give me how many L statements you had and how many C statements you had. Now, these two numbers have to add up to 25. So make sure that you add it up correctly. If you didn't, go back and count up again your L's and your C's. Those are the only two answers that you can have. So if you went back and you forgot to do one or you left one blank, you got to go back and do it right now. So do me a favor, jot those down, and then in tomorrow's class, I will tell you what this all means. Now let's go back to the test and let's do test number 2. All right, so for test number 2, it's actually listed as 2.1 on your, when you open this up. It'll have ideology survey. It's 2.1 because there are 2 pages to this second test. So basically, you're going to do what you just did before. You're going to read a statement, and then you have 5 choices. You strongly agree, you are neutral, means you don't have a feeling either way, you disagree, or you strongly disagree. So you're going to read the statement, and then you're going to select your answer. And then what you're going to do is you're going to figure out what point value your answer is. So all SAs are 2. All A's are 1, all N's are 0, all D's are -1, and all SD's are -2. And so you'll write that score right here. So if I have an SA for number 1, I would write a 2. Then I have to decide how intense I care about this issue. I care deeply and strongly, then that's a 3. I kind of care is a 2. I don't care is a 1. And so I'm going to write down my intensity. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply my score times my intensity. And because this question is number 1 and 1 is an odd number, I'm going to write my score right here. For number 2, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to answer. I'm going to write down my point value. I'm going to write down my intensity. I'm going to multiply these 2 numbers, but because this is number 2, I'm going to write it in the even column. And then for question 3, it's going to go in odd, question 4 even, question 5 odd, question 6 even. And now let's skip to page number 2. All right, so now we're on page number 2, which starts with 7. Again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to give a score, and it's either 2, 1, 0, -1, or -2. I'm going to write that score here. My intensity is either a 3, 2, or 1. I'm going to multiply these. Because this is number 7, it goes in odd. Number 8 would go in the even. 9 would go in odd. 10 would go in even. 11 goes in odd. 12 goes in even. And now what I need to do, if I've printed these out, I need to count up all of my odd column scores and total those up and put them right here. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. Those scores go here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 go right here. So you should have two numbers. They can be negative. That's okay. And then what you're going to do your final score, you're going to take your E score, and that's going to be your first number. And let me do this real quickly. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to do your E score, and you're going to subtract that, whoops, from your, oh, that's a really bad O, your odd score. All right, so it's going to be E minus O. So if my E score was 10 and my odd score was 5, it would be a 10 minus 5, and that would be a 5. If one of these scores is negative, let's say it's 10 minus a negative 10, you guys remember in math class when you subtract a negative number, it's actually going to be a plus. So E minus a negative is actually E plus that number. So if it was 10 minus a negative 10, it would actually be 10 plus 10, which is 20. If it was a negative score at the beginning, so let's say your E score is a negative 20 minus a positive score 5, then it would be obviously a 15 or a negative 15. And then if it was a negative 20 minus a negative, you know what you're doing here, okay? And then what you'll do down here at number 4 is write down your score. And the lowest score you could have is a 72. The highest score you can have is, or excuse me, the lowest score is a negative 72, and the highest score you can have is a 72. And now that you have your score, I'll tell you what to do. So now for test number 2, you're going to write down that score. Remember, it can be anywhere from a negative 72 to a positive 72. Write that score down right here, and I will tell you what that means in class later on. And now finally, we have a third test. And let me go to there. So on this one, it's going to look like a chart. And on that chart, you are going to have a number of issues on the left side. And then for each issue, you're going to have what the conservative view is and what the liberal view is. All you're going to do is for every issue, you're going to decide which one you believe, and you are going to highlight it. Again, you can print this off and physically highlight it, or you can do this on the computer. And so for each one, you're going to just go through and highlight which one you actually believe in. When you are done, you are going to then count up how many conservative statements you believed in and how many liberal ones you believed in. And then you're going to go back to this, and you're going to jot down how many conservative statements you had believed in and how many liberal ones you believed in. And by those 3 tests, we should have an idea, and I will tell you tomorrow what you are and what it means. But you will, these 3 tests will tell you whether you are an anal uptight conservative or a tree-hugging, animal-saving liberal. So I hope you have fun doing these. It'll be fun to do in class, and I will see you. Oh, fudge. We're okay. See you later. Bye-bye.